Joining us now is Giuseppe Mazzone, assistant professor of architecture who comes to Notre Dame all the way from Italy. Giuseppe, welcome to Notre Dame Day.
Hi, nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Actually, the pronunciation is Giuseppe.
Okay, thank you so much. We're on the pronunciation train today, so thank you so much. Appreciate it. Professor, let's start with your journey to Notre Dame. What brought you here from Italy?
I'm actually, there is a lot of compatibility between the work that I do and what the School of Architecture here in Notre Dame is creating. Because when I studied in Italy, my specialization was the reconstruction of ancient buildings, usually or in ruins or no longer existing. And so there was this attention to classical architecture and how the designs and the tectonic of ancient architecture can be implemented in contemporary practice. Beside that one, also the way in which this is done and combining drawing by hands and computer drawings. So all those topics is something that the School of Architecture at Notre Dame is very fond about. They build their curriculum on those elements. And so there was a lot of compatibility. I started to get in contact with some people here and things evolved. So now I'm here.
Well, we are glad you are. Professor, a lot of architecture programs these days do all their design work on the computer. So why is it so important that Notre Dame students design their projects by hand instead?
Well, we do both. It's just that the computer, usually we introduce it later in the formation. And the reason is because drawings for architects is essential because it's not necessarily, aimed to create a final product that can be artistic in nature, but it's a way of diagramming, it's a way of thinking. So the flexibility of having a drawing in front of you and change it constantly based on the development or an idea, or also feedback coming from or a client or even in school by other professors. It's essential. And that type of process, it's a bit more difficult to create it on a computer because sometimes computer can be very, very precise. And that is not necessarily beneficial in the moment in which a design is developed.
How long does that process to draw everything out take? I imagine it takes a lot longer than it does on the computer.
It does. It may take longer, especially in the moment in which there are, modifications at the very last moment to create it, which always happens with architectural designs. But in the overall, it's not so different from drawing with a computer because, let's say, the energy, the effort goes in different areas. Because drawing with a computer, for example, implies that the final product needs to be very well put together in terms of graphics, because otherwise it may look kind of like something rushed and put together at the very last moment. So drawing by hand instead may imply that some of the final drawings may be not, let's say, perfect in terms of drawings, colors, shades that are going on, but there is a visible process in creating everything, something is encrypted, something that can be lost instead in a computer setting.
So besides drawing things by hand, Professor, what else makes Notre Dame's architecture program stand out against the rest?
Well, we put a lot of importance in the study and understanding of classical principles. And that doesn't mean that we necessarily, use the classical forms in the creation of the design, but understanding, proportion of every single part of composing a building, materials, how those elements are put together structurally and also from a compositional, just a design point of view, but also looking at the bigger picture, in the moment in which there is a building that is put together, it's not necessarily the building as an object that interacts with people, but how that building combines with how people live in the building that are next to it. So we need to give a look at the function of the building, at its efficiency, besides also to make it something that looks pleasant to the eye.
Professor, thank you so much for joining us here on Notre Dame Day. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.